It's Wednesday and it is midweek. We call it Way Back Wednesday right here on the floor of Garson State. It is still a part of our morning show, the one we call Morning Spice, and this is the discussion segment. Welcome to the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions on Flow 94.9 FM, and this is the flow of God's own state. Session of comments, analyses of trending topical issues as they define and shape our world. My name is Michael Oni. Well, about 8 months ago, to be exact, the 15th of October 2020, the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC announced February 23, 2023 as the date for the next presidential and National Assembly elections. And that pronouncement was quite instructive and thus further raising the tempo of horse trading in some major political circles, and it revealed the rate of ongoing underground preparations for the next general elections. And notwithstanding the schism in certain quarters, the schism in separate quarters about the preparation of this election, and also tension arising from the wave of insecurity in parts of the country. Now, 8 months down the line, INEC appears to have moved to another phase in the build-up to 2023 election with the formal proclamation of additional polling units to the unveiling of the new polling units, of course, down to the continuous voter registration that will start on the 28th of June 2021. This will form the basis of our conversation today on the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions on Flow 94.9 FM. I have joining me as we discuss INEC's new polling units and the 2023 general elections, the resident electoral commissioner for INEC in Abia State, Dr. Joseph Iloh. Glad to have you join us, Doctor. Good morning to you and welcome to the platform on Flow FM. Thank you very much for joining us. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Welcome. Now let's begin. New polling units. How many do we have in Abia State?
We have 4,062 new polling units in Abia State.
New polling units, 4,000?
Yes.
Okay.
And 62, yes. These are made up of all the voting points in all the polling units. The commission now converted these voting points to polling units so as to make them work independent alongside the existing polling units. This will help a lot to create, to make it easy for voters to gain access to voting. Thank you very much.
Interesting. So now that we have more polling units, I also understand that INEC, the national body, the center, also removed polling units from some inappropriate places, according to Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. Do we have such incidents also recorded in Abia State?
Yes, we have. Abia is not independent of the commission. Abia State Office is not independent of the commission. They are all running the same family of INEC. And it didn't happen so much in Abia State. What we did was polling units that were wrongly placed, that have been existing in the wrong place. What are these wrong places? One is polling units that are existing in church premises, in mosques and churches. We relocated them. There are some other existing, we have to do so, complete the process. We also relocated polling units that are in shrines. In shrines. You understand what I mean?
Okay.
Good. In shrines.
When you say in shrines, because I followed that press briefing by Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, the INEC chairman in Nigeria, and he said polling units were removed from shrines, just as they were removed from mosques and also churches. Do we have such incident also in Abia State, in shrines?
For sure, we don't have them, but that's part of, I'm trying to relate part of the guidelines. Yeah.
No,
so we also relocated offices that are wrongly placed in private homes, in private universities, in private polytechnics, in private institutions of learning, We relocated them out, but I don't think much existed here in Abia. But I'm just relating the policy of the commission.
So I'm going to be asking you, Dr. Iloh, how did we get to the point of having INEC polling units at inappropriate places, like it was stated during that release by the INEC chairman?
Well, recall that INEC started operations in 1999. We were not on board as at then. Policies were made to initiate democracy. And I want to assure you that this democracy is like, I see democracy as like a dirty blanket. You wash the first time, it gets clean. You wash again, it gets cleaner. You wash again. By the time you wash and wash, you get a very clean blanket. You get it clear?
Okay, I'm getting you.
Yes, errors discovered somewhere along the line for whatever reason, we effect corrections.
Dr. Iloh, the issue of amendment of the Electoral Act hangs in the balance in the present political dispensation, and the National Assembly appears not to be in a hurry to address this matter, in spite of the earlier promise by the leadership, coupled with the subtle pressure from other critical stakeholders and spirited moves by INEC on this matter. Does this bother you?
Well, it bothers me like every other Nigerian, because it will help us to go a long way in improving the quality of service delivery in elections. You get it clear?
Okay, I'm getting you.
Yes.
Yes, go on.
What in effect I'm saying here is that we are as worried as any other Nigerian. And it's not, that question would have better been answered by the Senate by the national members of the National Assembly. INEC as a commission forwarded this instrument requesting amendment way back in 2019, and this is 2021. It's hanging on the National Assembly to do the needful. They have to do it, and they promised it's going to be done. So let's keep waiting and watch how it goes.
Okay, let's look at the distribution of the polling units that we have in Abia State. The newly approved additional polling units, converted ones, I'm talking about the political voting points now to polling units. How were they distributed?
Well, I think I gave you the panacea. I gave you the solution. The principle guiding this the establishment of new polling units is strictly based on voting point, existence of voting points. Anywhere voting point exists, in any polling unit that has voting point, those voting points are now being converted to polling units. That's the guideline. As it affects every state in Nigeria, it is a policy the Commission adhered strictly to. We did not create new polling units. We rather formed new polling units out of existing voting points. Why did we do that? Some will ask. We have to, because in some polling units, you discover that the number of persons coming to vote in some polling units are very large. And then given the time period, given the time allocated to voting, the voting time, we need to make things easier so that the voters will have good access to voting. The voters will have good access. And when voters have good access to voting, it becomes a very beautiful process, easy to access. People now go and vote and then vote comfortably without stressing themselves. A situation where 4,000 persons are supposed to vote in one polling unit does not make room for easy access. That is it.
Interesting. Now, I don't know how you want to tackle the issue of location of some polling units now during election. The issue of getting across to some polling units during election, the time constraint, for example, movement of sensitive and non-sensitive materials to far places like Ukwa, right here, an example in Abia State. These are some of the challenges we face during electioneering process, especially on the election day.
No, we move materials before the election day. Okay, we move election from when I came in here as a resident electoral commissioner. I evolved a policy that the sensitive materials will move directly from CBN, where we house them for security reasons, direct to the local government offices. And in doing so, we usually invite party representatives. We call them party reps, not party agents. We call them party reps. Party reps come and we examine these materials to make sure that they are complete. And we move them straight to the local government offices under the guidance of party reps. Party reps normally follow such vehicles carrying sensitive materials, bumper to bumper. They move straight to the local government offices. They pass the night there. I encourage the young men who want to be, to be assured of what's happening. They pass the night usually, and then later in the day, these materials now start moving to the rack centers. These things are very transparent, very, very transparent.
Now, the issue of continuous voter registration, I understand it will be starting on the 28th of June, 2021. Can you shed more light on that?
Yes, it's starting on Monday. On Monday, for sure. There are two methods of registration.
Okay.
First is online pre-registration. And then the second is direct registration, in-person registration and online pre-registration. The pre-registration is the innovation that has been brought in now. All persons who want to register will do the preliminary registration at the comfort of their homes using their handsets. When they now enter all their data, they now come to the commission office or the local government headquarters to do capturing. We capture their data, we capture their faces, we capture their fingerprints, so that on the election day, these things will be easier. Identification will no longer be a problem because we capture the faces, no longer the fingers alone. The new IVED machines we'll be deploying will do the facial capture. And who are eligible to come for registration? Let me use this opportunity to answer that question.
Okay.
Yeah. Nigerians 18 years and above who have not registered, that is persons who have come into the age bracket of 18, all Nigerians who have celebrated their 18 years birthday, okay, their 18-year birthday, they now qualified to come and register and be captured. It normally gives a big joy that somebody is coming to vote for the very first time. Okay? Then, aside from this class of persons, registered voters with accreditation issues, defaced voter cards, damaged voter cards, and all of this. The PVC will now come, we re-enter your data and reissue a new PVC. Thirdly, registered voters seeking transfer or wishing to correct their information. Registered voters seeking transfer or wishing to correct the information on their PVC. For instance, if your name is wrongly spelled, if your surname or any data was wrongly captured, please, you are invited to come and then effect that correction.
That's from Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, also, people with disabilities, they should come. Those who have the same problem, the same challenge. If your PVC is functional, you have been to the polling unit sometime, the polling unit to vote sometime in the past, and you had no issue whatsoever, you don't need to come. However, if you had gone to vote and you had issues, you were not captured, you were not identified properly, there were issues on the system identifying you, please, you are also expected to be there. So all persons are to come who have this, the above mentioned, who belong to the above mentioned classes. Then in-person registration are for those who are We're going to start that much later, or later in the month, or by next month, where persons come and then be captured the usual way. However, this time around, I can assure you that the Commission has made very fruitful effort. The Commission has made fruitful effort, a useful effort to get machines. iVed, we're going to use iVed machine. iVed is a system, is a machine that will capture your face, capture your fingerprints, and then identify you properly. So it's all part of what the Commission is requesting the National Assembly to give advice, empower us to deploy full technology in a conduct of elections. You can be sure that technology solves a lot of problems.
Okay.
Sure, you can be sure that technology has solved a lot of communication problems in Nigeria. And we are very willing to commence full deployment of technology in conduct of election.
Now talking about full deployment of technology, a bit of contention during the last general election was the use of card readers, the use of server, and the likes. Have those been have they been straightened now by the Electoral Commission?
Yes, this is in existence, but the law, a section of the law needs to be fine-tuned to give full powers to the use, give legality to the use of this deployment, these systems. If the Commission, for instance, gave the blanket check to apply full technology, I can assure you that the Commission will be willing to provide online voting. And when online voting commences, a lot of problems will be resolved. The cost of election will drastically go down. The issue of gathering people to come in a rally and this will be a thing of the past. People will now stay in the comfort of their homes and vote. Well, a lot of complaints say people are hacking. Good. For my person, I say if some other institutions like DSTV can protect their system, banks can protect their systems. If we are empowered, we will protect our systems.
Interesting. Now let's look at. I'm still taking you back to the newly approved, the additional polling units that we have now in Abia State. I would like to have the distribution pattern, probably according to local government or the senatorial district. That will be a bone of a thing that Abians would like to know which particular zone got what and the numbers.
Please, for want of time, we may not have all this. We may not have enough time. I'm thinking, we may not have all the time to provide all these details from one ward to another ward to another ward. We may not have all this one, but I am assuring you that in all polling units in Abia, that should be the fundamental issue. All polling units that had in the past a voting point. If any polling unit have 4 voting points, the polling units will now have 5 polling units. It is 4 voting points plus the existing polling unit. That's just the model. And this does not change.
All right, let me take you on those wishing to transfer now, their voting points now, where they will vote, where they will exercise their right. Of course, you said it is going to start on the 28th of June 2021, which is Monday. Can you take us through the process?
Well, just step into our office. It's going to be commissioned in Abuja on that day.
Okay.
Yes, and then we take it up from there. But the process remains very simple. It's a very simple process. Just step in, give us all your data, we enter all your data. We would have entered your data. You enter INET server, okay? Then provide all your information accurately. When you provide this information, they will report. And when you come to the state office, it's just to capture your image and other data capturing, your fingerprints, your image. Very simple.
So some persons still do not have their permanent voters card. They still go around with the temporary one. Are there provisions to get the permanent one also?
Yes. No, at the end of this, remember some persons in 2019 did not collect. We have uncollected PVC. Those ones, alongside with the new ones, will all be brought out and shared out to those who registered, their owners. Their owners will have to come and collect them.
All right. Yes, Dr. Iloh, another issue I would like you to address this morning is the voter apathy in Abia State. It's a very alarming one. I remember during the last election, you mentioned that there were about 2 million eligible voters in Abia State. And the collection, at some point, you have the statistics, wasn't that collection of their permanent voters card, wasn't that impressive, down to those that came out during the election day, recorded as low as 13% turnout of voters, which is very alarming. What is your organization, what is INEC, especially in Abia State, doing, especially in the area of sensitization, telling the people that it is proper to come out on the election day to vote? These are some of the lapses that I believe we should block before 2023.
Good. You see, if you, just a few minutes back, I told you if the commission receive all the legal empowerment, we will use what we call online voting, and that will reduce apathy drastically, next to zero.
Online voting.
Yes.
It means people can stay at home and vote. Is that what you're saying?
Sure. Online voting, and electronics. So if such situation arises, well, the voting issue of voter apathy will become next to zero. Just next to zero. I can assure you that. However, given the present scenario, this is one reason why INEC has created new polling units, to decongest the pressure on the polling units. You discover that the polling officers, when they now see that about 3,000 or 2,000 or 1,000, voters are coming to vote, these numbers are staggering, and you see a large crowd of persons waiting to vote in a particular polling unit. That's the one reason why the commission, in an effort to give access to the voters, make the access to voting very easy. That's why we created these new polling units. That's one. Secondly, you know that in our voting system, the turnout has been very, very low. Turnout has been very, very low. So many reasons contribute to this. That is lack of motivation by the voters. We need the stakeholders in the political system of Abia to encourage their voters to step out and vote. INEC on its own, very soon we'll start our jingles. We go from market to market, we go from house to house, we mobilize persons, ad hoc staff to help us ginger and motivate the voters to step out and vote. It is only by this process that you can either encourage a sitting representative or discourage a sitting representative. So the issue of voter apathy is an issue that is really worrisome. Take, for instance, in the last election in Abia, on the day of election, our brothers and sisters, they were going to their market. It took the authorities to say, please close your stores, go and vote. This is the power center. So many people were not interested. They would go to their businesses, leaving the actual thing. Yes, it is good to be economically independent. So many of them claim that they depend on their sales and their businesses to survive. Good enough. The political power is a very hidden, it's not even hidden. It's the ultimate in economic empowerment. If you have the political power, then you can make economic empowerment to a larger number of persons. So we are looking at a situation where we devise more methods. We call on NGOs to help us. Incidentally, in Abia, Much of the NGOs don't come except during elections. They will come to ask, please, we appoint us to be supervisors, appoint us to be observers. No, the relationship should start long. For instance, I tell you, my brother, we had some problems, security challenges. No NGO has come to say, please, this thing should stop. That's not the best NGOs can do for us here in the state. They should make the statement so that we get encouraged and know that somewhere someone is thinking about our own interest and welfare. So we need all hands to be on deck to encourage voters to please come out, irrespective of what the situation, where you view your views on any issue. Please, voting is very, very important.
Interesting. So I like the point you raised in this morning. Voting is also important, but some persons will have come out to say we no longer believe in the system. We no longer trust INEC because INEC. They are alleging that the organization that you're a part of course, heading in Abia State, has not been so transparent in the conduct of election. I don't know what will be your reaction to that.
Well, I think that in the process we are run here in Abia, everything we do here in Abia is done in the public domain. That is the fact. My office is always open for everyone who comes to ask questions, to get to know what is happening, to get to know. I answer questions daily on telephone, by the contact, in whatever way. I think we've been doing, and we continue to do the best we can to ensure transparency. Not apparent transparency, but true transparency. Politicians, when a politician wins an election, INEC becomes the toast of the day. When the same politician loses, INEC becomes the devil. That's not the best. I try to appeal to them to please use an unbiased instrument of assessment to evaluate our jobs. Part of the transparency program we have introduced, not only here in the entire state, is materials. Sensitive materials do not come into INEC headquarters. They move from there to state, local government, and then we invite party reps to come and witness what we are doing. In some situations, we have to provide extra security on our sensitive materials, so as to ensure that there are no persons, any person who duplicates or plays something wrong outside, we will catch them. Okay, so we try to provide, but these guys, the stakeholders, what would I call them, the politicians, they think far ahead, and when we are building a hill, they will raise a mountain. But we knows that we will not give up. We keep blocking every loophole that we look like politicians will squeeze in and then take victory that doesn't belong to them. No, we don't allow that. I have also insisted in several fora that results must be pronounced at the polling units before they uploaded to the collation centers. These are where political parties should put their reps in all the polling units. Put credible reps. You don't put a party rep or party agent or whatever you call them with somebody who can be going to buy cigarettes or going to drink beer when the election process is going on. And when he comes back, he says there is rigging at that polling unit. No. Send credible men and women at the polling unit. That's where the results come from. Then they upload. As we upload, the party reps upload to the next stage. Then we upload from the next stage. For example, if polling unit results are pronounced, we move to ward collection centers. At that ward collection centers, all the political or contesting political parties should have their reps at that ward collection center. And when we finish the party reps should upload their own results alongside. As we upload, they should also upload. And when this is done, you see transparency. When a party loses, they will know that they lost because the voters did not vote for them. when a party wins, they will now know that the voters voted for them, and then they will now get to know that when the voters vote for you and you do what they want, they're going to do more, going to vote you more. So in all the things we do, this process has been followed religiously. It's what happens is when a party loses in a particular polling unit, the rep, if he is not a gentleman, he will look like he will create a lot of problems in such a situation. And that is where the problem starts. He wouldn't know that if he loses in polling unit A, that in polling unit B, in another environment, or polling unit A in another environment, his party could be victorious. This is where we say NGOs should help us to teach these party men the duties they should do. Don't create problem if your party fails to win in your own polling unit, because the other polling unit your party may have won. And the results, results shall not be pronounced. The only result we pronounce in our state headquarters is the governorship election. All the others must be pronounced at the various pronouncement centers. So we insist on this. I don't know where we have not, where the parties put their claims. If there are specific areas they need us to upgrade or review, please, we shall welcome that.
Interesting. Dr. Joseph Iloh, just before I let you go this morning, I would like the members of the public to also ask questions, especially concerning the continuous voter registration exercise that will start on Monday, the 28th of June 2021, and also on the additional voter voting booths, of course, created by INEC. Of course, it is still the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions. We've been speaking with the resident electoral commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Abia State, Dr. Joseph Iloh. And of course, we're looking at, INEC's new polling units and the 2023 general elections. We can accommodate your calls now, and I'm going to take more calls before I look at the security situation, how elections will hold, especially where we have skirmishes of violence in Abia State. Some INEC offices burnt also, especially as it affects us right here in Abia State. 0808 182 6949 or 0811 605 2949. Also drop messages on 0906 510 8289. Glad to have you join us. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
You're welcome.
Is Reg there?
Yes, Reg is listening to you.
Good morning, my Reg. Good morning, sir, Professor.
Thank you. What's your name?
I remember Mr. Prince Wiloswago from here in Omonachobo.
Okay.
Reg, in as much as I love you as a person and I love whatever you said, but this morning I'm going to disagree with you. Most importantly, I'm not disagreeing with you as a person. I will disagree with you as a rec of National Electoral Commission. One, the issue of booth units or creation of booths. My elder brother in the studio, it is not so. The way INEC did it ought not to have been the way they're supposed to have done it. One, they're supposed to have done it through constitutional means. How can you tell me that most of the units, most of the booths have reached up to 700 and above? But today we can never boast of any unit. Rather, we continue to be monitoring ourselves during elections. They only get you to what we call voting points. Most of the voting points, the numbers of voting points in Nigeria is quite minute when talk of the units that have reached up to 700 and above. So I would have loved your organization, INEC, to look into that matter. Look into most of the units that have reached up to 400 and 700 and maybe
all right.
400.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
I know, with my observation, they did it.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, you can respond to that, right?
Yes. I think, Mr. Princewell, thank you very much. Princewell, I want to say that you were not you don't have the correct information. The polling units we have, for now, the minimum is 500. 500 persons per polling unit. 500 to the maximum of 750. We had the threshold of 500 to 750 to 1,500. This time around, it's now reduced to 500 to 750. Well, how did we get to voting points? Voting points are when these polling units are in excess of 1,500. We create voting points. We don't just create voting points just for the fun of creating voting points. No, we create voting points when we discover that the number of voters registered to vote in a particular polling unit has exceeded that threshold. So we now create what we call voting points to enable the excess now go to these new voting points. It is these new voting points that have now been converted to polling units so that they will no longer depend on the polling officer of a polling unit. They will now have the polling officers of their own, independent of any other polling officer, so that this thing can run pari passu along the line. No person will have to wait to take instruction from a polling unit, a polling officer, a PO. We call them PO. Okay. Now POs are going to be appointed for each of the 4,062 new polling units, in addition to the existing number.
Right.
We are really working. I don't see.
Right. Let's get more reactions on the phone lines. I believe you've answered that. Yes. Good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning, Michael.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Honorable. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my brother.
Reverend Moses from Imo State.
All right, Reverend.
Pardon?
Please, I want to comment and ask a question. I heard of e-voting, electronic voting, that someone will stay in his house and vote. To me, Nigerians are not yet matured for that electronic voting, because how can we be sure that it will not encourage fraud, it will not encourage multiple voting? That's my question. How can we show?
Reverend Moses from Imo State is asking for more light to be thrown on the e-voting that you mentioned this morning.
Thank you very much. I want to say, Reverend Moses has, I am sure, he has an account in any bank, in one of the banks in Nigeria. And I am sure he has one BVN. Listen, please. The National Assembly has not given approval to this. We are just making a hypothetical evaluation.
It's a proposal.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So, if you have one BVN, irrespective of the number of accounts you have, it is that one BVN that will operate. It's a very simple process. When people say we are not mature for electronic voting, for online voting, it tends to get me pissed off, because technology provides solution to every problem. You see, when we have this, firewalls are going to be built along our tower, and then we protect this. Recall that if we do this, it will save of the nation cost of election. It will reduce the cost of election to about 60-70%, because all the materials we need.
So you're saying Nigeria is ripe, and we can embark on
that.
That.
We need the National Assembly to get. That's my personal opinion. We need the National Assembly to provide the empowerment. We are right.
All right. Let's get more reactions on the phone lines, Rick. Yes. Good morning to you. You're welcome.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, our Honorable President Electoral Commission.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, this lawman, the prophet from Mumbai. We have heard all that you have said. In fact, if tomorrow, by the grace of God, God make you the national chairman, I will be so much happy, because the way you are sounding and the way you are going, if you are allowed to man that post, I'm telling you, you will change the commission for better. Because I can never be happy with INEC now. If we are still going on with anachronistic way of voting, let the National Assembly, I want the commission, through you tell our gap for them, let him disturb them, for them to enact a law, so that we can have a technological way of voting so that there will be no more rigging. Even if it is rigging, it will be minimal.
All right, Lawman the Prophet, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Glad to have you join us. You're welcome.
Good morning.
All right.
Ikechuku calling from Omaya.
Okay,
I
Ikechuku.
want to ask, this polling unit you are increasing now, will you maintain it during election day or you increase it just for registration? Because we had that in the past, whereby they announced they have increased polling units. On the day of election, they will shrink it. People will now go back to those polling units where they are point of registration and find that no INEC official will be there by 10 a.m. and they will go back.
All right,
Yeah, by encouraging them.
Rek, you can answer that.
Yes, I want to thank you, Mr. Kechuku. Thank you very much. I want to assure you that this new polling unit are going to be very effective and functional during the election. We are not in any way going to abandon a newly created polling unit because that wouldn't be. We're going to treat it the way we treat other polling units. It's just like somebody who has done one independent. And I want to assure Abia that the polling unit in question will show in pari-passu. They will have their own result sheet. They will have all the materials which other polling units have in the past. So I think there should not be any no one should entertain here.
All right.
I want to appeal.
All right, Rek. Let's take this just before we go for the break. Yes, good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my name is Ugochukwu Onyechin Kamaklamimezo from outside the Christian Kingdom. Good morning, Rek.
Yeah.
Okay, my question is, this new polling unit that will be created if the National Assembly approve, I want to know, are they going to automatically move some people from that unit to the next unit, assuming the one that is existing is overcrowded? Are they going to automatically transfer them? Now, how will the people transfer know that they've been transferred to another unit? Or will those who want to move from that unit now go and apply to be transferred to another unit? And how do we sensitize people about this? Thank you.
Yeah, Rek, you can go on.
Very, very important one. I've been trying to squeeze out a way to address that. Thank you very much. The new voting point. Recall that there had been names. The existing polling unit prior to the creation contained names. Then this time around, we are going to. Hello. This time around, we have created the new polling units, and what is asking is, how do we now get the names that will appear in the register for those new polling units? First and foremost, let me give you one example. In the urban centers, especially in the urban centers, there are developmental areas, the new estates have emerged in several areas. You know that. Then these new estates, prior to this time, a lot of persons who are residing in this new estate had been residing in polling units existing before the new ones. So when a new polling unit is created and housed in the new estate, then these new residents can transfer their votes to that area to make it easy for them to vote on the voting day. I hope you get it clear.
Okay,
so it will not only those who want to transfer their vote to those new polling units, to the new estate, for example. The new estate, the new polling unit is the new estate. Now, a lot of persons can transfer their votes to those areas.
All right.
It's meant to be simple, a very simple process. We only need to follow and understand the procedure.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Dr. Joseph Iloh, we have to let you go now. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us, of course, for shedding more light on the additional polling units created by INEC in Abia State, and also talking about the 2023 general elections. We do appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, that's...
I would also want to use this medium, please, to appeal to Abians. You see, prior to 2019 election, we moved the voter strength of Abia to 2 million. Sure, we did. From 1.39 million, we moved it to 2 million because we tasked ourselves and then saw it as a challenge and then did our job professionally. We went to the market, tried to mobilize all of them. But I am still sure for now that over 1 million persons are not registered. Persons who are qualified to vote are not in our data. Please, for God's sake, I want to appeal to Abians. So please, step out and vote. State like Abia, take for example, the residents of Abia and the adjoining communities are more than 1 million. But when you get to Abia, about less than 500,000 persons are in our vote, are both in Abia South and Abia. So we need to get these things. You are not registering for any politician. See it as your own civic duty to come out and register. You can use your vote to effect a change in the society to what you want. Thank you very much.
Dr. Joseph Iloh, thank you very much for sharing that with us on the program, the platform today. We do appreciate you. We take a break now. When we return, we're going to take your reactions on our Facebook page. We have a thread there. In fact, the visuals of this program is running on Facebook, and also the text messages that we have here. And then we wrap up the program. It is the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions on Flow 94.9 FM.
Today's edition of Governor Obiano's Narrative of Excellence will focus on agriculture. From time immemorial, Anambra State has been known as a center for commerce and trade. But Governor Willie Obiano has changed that perception for good. The question people ask is, how did he do it? Well, he rolled out a superb economic blueprint that made agriculture the top priority of his administration. He set up a research team of agronomists to determine which crop would grow better in which location. He also established what he called a land bank committee, which negotiated and bought land from different communities for industrial and agricultural use. Then he signed up partnership arrangements with big-time agro investors like Koscharis Farms, Josan Agro Limited, Linden Farms, Chelsea Farms, Excel Farms, Eagle Farms, and Grains and Silos Limited to go into modern farming in Anambra State. The story of Anambra State changed when these investors moved in with big money, big ideas, and big machineries for agriculture. The result has been amazing. The state rice production output shot up from 80,000 metric tons per annum to 440,000 metric tons in 2020. Plans are on the way to increase the volume to 525,000 metric tons in the 2021 planting season. Likewise, cassava production increased from 275,832 metric tons in 2014 to 2,060,687 metric tons in 2020. Maize production rose from 15,902 metric tons in 2015 to 63,255 metric tons in 2020, and vegetable production increased from 48,032 metric tons in 2015 to 321,600 metric tons in 2020. Land utilization has also increased in the period under review and stands at over 95,109 hectares due to the influx of more investors into farming. Under Obiano, Anambra boasts of over 160,000 farmers and 3,000 cooperative societies that are duly registered with the Ministry of Agriculture. And perhaps more importantly, most of the farmers have made a swift transition from one-season farming to year-round farming, with the increasing use of irrigation and the adoption of global best practices in agriculture. Indeed, the results of the heavy investments in agriculture in Anambra State are highly impressive. The fully automated Kocharis rice mill at Ibariam produces 40,000 metric tons of rice per year. Stein Industries Limited, which operates from Amici in Inewi South local government, has created what is now famously known as the Anambra Rice brand from rice paddies produced in Anambra State. Linden Integrated Poultry Farms is currently the largest poultry farm in southern Nigeria, with a facility that can hold over 90,000 birds. Meanwhile, Eagle Farms in Umuchu and Wonder Farms in Umunze are blazing a trail in the commercial rearing of Efibo, the West African dwarf cows. An Oka-based company known as Graphil Nigeria Limited has been exporting vegetables from Anambra to the U.S. for quite some time now. Indeed, Anambra State has become the state with the most modern integrated agricultural value chain in Nigeria, with a clear process flow from the farms to the processing factories and finally to the export markets. A direct result of these efforts has been a drastic fall in unemployment, the emergence of many Anambra agricultural produce brands, and increased food self-sufficiency. In fact, the National Bureau of Statistics reports that in 2020, Anambra had the lowest unemployment rate in Nigeria at 17%, all thanks to Governor Obiano's exploits in agriculture and other areas. The Governor Obiano's Narratives of Excellence is written by James Eze, Chief Press Secretary to the Governor of Anambra State, and read by Ben Eme. Thanks for listening.
All right, thank you very much for staying tuned. It is still the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions on Flow 94.9 FM, Wednesday edition of the program. Of course, where we take a look at some topical issues as it affects us right here in Abia State and, of course, the nation. Still part of our morning show. We had the resident electoral commissioner, Dr. Joseph Iloh, and he spoke about the additional polling units created by INEC. The one here in Abia State, and also he spoke extensively about 2023 general elections and, of course, forthcoming elections, future elections in Nigeria. And we're ready to take your messages now on the SMS line. This one says, "Good morning, my guest in the house. Kelechi Oba from Ikwano. We need electoral reform that will enable all party members to participate on the voting of their candidate right from primaries. We don't need delegates. We need to vote in accordance to the tenet of democracy." We've got messages also on our Facebook page, Flow 949 FM. Of course, we have a thread there, and you can follow what is happening in the studio. Of course, on our Facebook page. I'm trying to navigate through so that we can run through the messages on the Facebook page right now. Okay. So on the Facebook page, Mary Koku says he was the rec on the 2019 election, meaning he supervised that election. I would not believe in it. Okay. Also, Francis says, watching live from Amanguze in Enugu, creating new polling units is a welcome development, but the major emphasis should have been a rejig of our electoral process for free, fair, and credible election. Anyways, thank you very much for joining us this week. Of course, today, the second edition of the program, The Platform on Flow 94.9 FM. We will be back on Friday, of course, where we dissect another issue for you so that you can find meanings to some of these events as it is shaping our lives. Thank you very much for joining us. Many thanks to my producer, Samson Eze, and also Uyai Abasi Jimmy, and also many thanks to the guy behind the visuals on our Facebook page, Stanley. Do enjoy the rest of your day. My name is Michael Oni.